Hello, this is Saliha Akbas from Koç University. I am presenting our paper, Qualitative Dimensions of Technology-Mediated Reflective Learning, the case of VR experience of psychosis. We focus on reflection in the context of technology-mediated social and emotional learning using ambiguous design. Thus, we deal with the qualitative and subjective nature of reflective activity. Our goal was to create a VR experience of psychosis to provide psychology students with an experiential learning opportunity through reflection. We used immersive VR to improve affective skills such as perspective taking, reflective thinking, and empathy. Our work contributes to the literature on technology-supported reflective learning and VR developers designing social and emotional experiences for reflection. Reflection is self-evaluation of one's inferential processes at the face of ambiguous experiences, pushing one to reinterpret the experience and update existing knowledge. Reflection is often triggered by complex social and emotional experiences, as they can result in ambiguity and unpredictability in inference. Ambiguity of information during an interpretative process can generate individual differences in interpreting the meaning of an experience. As these complex interpretative experiences are hard to quantify, a qualitative study of using ambiguity in designing for reflection can contribute to the understanding of users' subjective experiences when they engage in reflection. As a case which is marked by the need to explain reality through self-construction, we believe that psychosis is well suited to investigate reflective processes as it exemplifies the interpretative struggle of an individual in making sense of the world. Individual diversity in the experience of psychosis is highlighted in Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, DSM-5, which makes its diagnosis and treatment tailored around the subjective experiences of individuals presenting with the symptoms. We focused on the experience of psychosis in schizophrenia spectrum, particularly paranoid schizophrenia. We focused on hallucinations and delusions as they are among the common symptoms. The psychotic experience is not only subjectively diverse, but it is also malleable to different social and emotional contexts. As a frequently applied concept in human-computer interaction research, reflection is mostly addressed in the area of personal informatics, which focuses on users' reflection on personal data to promote well-being, productivity, prosocial and environmental behavior. The underlying design question in personal informatics is finding design strategies for generating and sorting relevant information for users to self-reflect. What is common to these design strategies is enabling users engage with their personal data presented in a comprehensible form. This way, users can make sense of self-related data efficiently and effortlessly. Many in the field of HCI criticize the tendency to measure reflection through the outcome of reflection, such as an observable change in behavior. That is because it is unclear whether this change in quantity is attributable to the process of reflection itself or some other confounding factor. Baumer claims that the reflective process and its outcome cannot be easily measured or observed by quantitative terms because it's usually qualitative change in knowing. Ambiguous design is used in works that investigate the subjective and qualitative nature of reflection activity. As Gaver et al. Suggests, ambivalent thoughts and feelings lead to the experience of uncertainty and invite a person to search for alternative connections in reconstructing the experience. In experiential learning approaches to reflection, learners' diverse social and emotional experiences are particularly emphasized. On this backdrop, we use ambiguity of media to design a learning experience of psychosis by creating an environment which stimulates doubt and uncertainty in relation to reality construction. Thus, ambiguous design can facilitate experiential learning by having students relate to the subjective qualities of reality perception in psychosis. We held a codesign workshop with an interdisciplinary team of VR developers, psychology and medical school students, clinical practitioners and academicians in the field of psychology and psychiatry. A total of 18 participants joined the 4-day workshop to design a VR prototype. The codesign process involved the phases of debriefing, idea generation, and prototyping. Our VR prototype included ambiguous stimuli at perceptual, cognitive, affective, and social levels. A total of 14 undergraduate psychology students participated in the study. Our tools for evaluating user experience involved semi-structured in-depth interviews that lasted 30 to 45 minutes. We posed questions that deal with the symptomology of the experience depicted by this prototype. To elaborate more on participants' affective experiences, we also use the clinical interviewing tool called emotional wheel, frequently used in counseling sessions to identify individuals' own affective states. The emotional wheel in our study describes 6 basic emotions of fear, anger, sadness, surprise, joy, and love by dividing it into multiple levels of detail and elaboration. Participants' description of the symptomatic features presented in the VR experience shows similarities regarding the form of hallucinations, visual and auditory, and delusions, which are persecutory. However, there was a considerable diversity in participants' descriptions of the content of the hallucinations and delusions that they explained with reference to the kind of agents involved and the presence of fiction or non-fiction elements. Thus, although participants focused on similar perceptual experiences, they interpreted the meaning of the experience differently. This is because ambiguity is processed differently by each participant. They followed different strategies to make connections between inconsistent multisensory stimuli and engage in decision-making process which favored one sensory input over another competing stimuli. Reflection in this vein can be understood as a process of reconstructing consistency within subjective reality, the coherence of which is disrupted by the experience of uncertainty and doubt through ambivalent thoughts and feelings. Our in-depth thematic analysis of the interview data revealed that reflection in the context of social-emotional learning entails 2 interrelated components: spontaneous perspective taking, shifting the point of view from self to another, and shared state of affect, an effective response to an experience that is contingent upon the affective response of others in the same context of interaction. The process of observing a situation from another person's point of view casts itself as an object of observation and evaluation. This meta-level cognitive process, initiated by perspective taking, pervades a critical stance towards existing understanding, beliefs, emotions, and behaviors that are involved in the process of interpreting the VR experience. Users did not necessarily reflect on their experience deliberately by choosing the time to reflect. Rather, it is the specific interaction they engaged in that prompt them to reflect on the experience almost spontaneously. Our VR experience involved perspective taking not only at a cognitive level but also at an affective one, which helped building empathy. Through the emotional wheel activity, they elaborated their own affective states as well as that of the individual with psychosis in the VR experience. We observed a wider range of affective responses when participants reflected on their own experience compared to when they did on the patient's experience. Participants not only exhibited an awareness of another's affective states, but also of affective states being shared. This is to say, although the affective responses to the experience show variety from one participant to another, there was an overlap between the affective state of the self and affective states attributed to the other. Reflection, at its core, is a subjectively construed learning process that focuses on one's thinking patterns and affective states in making sense of an ambiguous experience. Therefore, reflection is often unstructured and spontaneous. Experience of ambiguity can pave the way for including other social agents' subjective experiences into the process of reconstructing meaning, which facilitates a shared affective framework for interpretation. VR offers various possibilities for designing ambiguous experiences stimulated by inconsistent or conflicting multisensory stimuli to trigger reflective processes. When designing VR experiences for reflection, qualitative approaches could be more appropriate to capture the variety and the extent of social-emotional factors and individual diversity. Although we adopted a qualitative approach to reflection, we do not necessarily claim that quantitative approaches are inferior. Rather, we suggest that the kind of reflective inquiry aimed to be facilitated through various design strategies should match with the kind of reflective style they want users to engage in.